Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome. Today's topic is the 1880 Cleveland Blues NL baseball season. Again, the Blues were playing at Kennard Street Park. Sure, they've been there for a few years now, and they were playing in the National League, the senior circuit. There was no American League yet. And in 1880, the Cleveland Blues had a good year. They finished in third place with a record of 47 and 37, 10 games over 500, 560 winning percentage, 20 games out of first. The first place team that year was the Chicago White Stockings, who had a tremendous year. They were 67 and 17. So the Chicago White Stockings were the champions of 1880. Second place, Providence, Rhode Island Grays were 52 and 32. Cleveland Blues, they said, were 47 and 37 in third place. The Troy Trojans finished in fourth at 41 and 42. The Worcester, Massachusetts Worcesters were 40 and 43. In fifth place, the Boston Red Caps were 40 and 44. Sixth place. The Buffalo Bisons were in seventh, 24 and 58. And in last place, Cincinnati Reds were 21 and 59. Now in the season, the first perfect game was pitched in MLB history on June 12th against the Cleveland Blues. And the pitcher was John Lee Richmond, and he was pitching for the Worcesters. So that was interesting. Now the lineup, Doc Kennedy was back as catcher. He hit 200 with 10 doubles and 18 RBIs. Bill Phillips returned at first base. Phillips hit 254, 14 doubles, 10 triples, and 36 RBIs. We had a new second baseman, Fred Dunlap, hit 276. He led the league with 27 doubles, 9 triples, 4 home runs, and 30 RBIs. So Dunlap was a tremendous player. He was our star player. Dunlap was from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He died in Philadelphia in 1902 at age 43. Died young. His career average was 292, really good, 366 RBIs. He scored 759 runs. He played for the Cleveland Blues, the St. Louis Maroons, the Detroit Wolverines, Pittsburgh Alleghenies, New York Giants, and Washington Statesmen from 1880 to 1891. He's also the manager for the Blues, the Cleveland Blues, St. Louis Maroons, and Pittsburgh Alleghenies. In 1880, he was the National League doubles leader. In 1880, like we said, 1884, in the Union Association, he was the leader in batting, home runs, runs, and hits. They called him Sure Shot. He was a second baseman manager, highest paid player in the major leagues from 1884 to 1889. And he's considered the greatest second baseman of the 19th century. He's very accurate in throwing. So 1880 was his rookie year. And 1884, he hit 412, the highest ever till that time. In 1887, with the Detroit Wolverines, he won a pennant. In 1891, his career ended when he broke his leg sliding into second base. After retiring as a player, he worked in the construction business, and he developed a gambling problem, betting on horses. In 1902, he was penniless, living in a rundown boarding house, and he died of consumption of the bowels in 1902. His body was unidentified till policemen recognized the baseball star. So that was very tragic, the end of the death of Fred Dunlap. Both of his parents died when he was 10 years old, and he stopped going to school. He just played baseball, and he was illiterate his whole life. And it was said of him, quote, endless practice made him adept as a monkey at grabbing a sizzling ground ball in either hand and firing it off from the very spot he seized it. His whistling throws, which seemed to clear the grass by no more than half a foot, never seemed to lose more than an inch or two. He was very good at diving for balls and throwing while lying on the ground. Dunlap was ambidextrous. He could throw with either hand. He never wore a glove. On July 10th, he had a walk-off home run against the Chicago White Stockings, and that for the Cleveland Blues, which ended their 21-game winning streak. It was called the Shot Heard Round Cleveland. He was also called a disorganizer and a mischief maker. In 1888, he was paid $6,000, the highest MLB salary ever. He had $100,000 in savings after his career, but he lost that money betting on horses. The last 2 years of his life were spent in abject poverty and mental gloom, so very tragic. Fred Dunlap, the pitfalls of wealth and fame. Jack Glasscock was back at shortstop. Glasscock hit .243, 13 doubles, 3 triples, and 27 RBIs. Fine year and fine career for Jack Glasscock. Frank Hankinson was our new third baseman. Hankinson hit .209, 7 doubles, 4 triples, 1 home run, and 19 RBIs. Hankinson was a third baseman. He was from New York, New York. He died in Palisades Park, New Jersey in 1911 at age 54. His career average was .228, 13 home runs, 344 RBIs. He played for the Chicago White Stockings, the Cleveland Blues, Troy Trojans, the New York Gothams, the New York Metropolitans, and the Kansas City Cowboys between 1878 and 1888. He also pitched 32 games. He had 28 starts. His career record as a pitcher was 16-12 with a 2.50 ERA and 266 innings. He died 24 days before his 55th birthday and is buried in Pacific Palisades Park, New Jersey. During the 1880 season, for the Blues, he had a pitching record of 1-1 with an ERA of 1.08 in 4 games, 2 starts, 2 complete games, and a save. Frank Hankinson. Orator Schaefer was a new outfielder. Schaefer hit .266, 14 doubles, 9 triples. Schaefer was from he's a right fielder from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Died in Philadelphia in 1922 at age 70. His career average was .282, very good, 11 home runs, 317 RBIs. He played for the Hartford Dark Blues, the New York Mutuals, the Philadelphia Whites, the Louisville, Kentucky Grays, the Indianapolis Blues, the Chicago White Stockings, the Cleveland Blues, the Buffalo Bisons, St. Louis Maroons, and Philadelphia Athletics between 1874 and 1890. In 1879, he set an MLB record for assists for an outfielder. He had 50 assists as an outfielder. That's still an MLB record. In 1884, in the Union Association, he was the doubles leader. He was an avid speaker. That's why they called him orator, as a speaker. He could talk. He was very good in defense. He's considered the greatest right fielder of his era back in the late 1800s. By 1887, he was in the minors, playing in Lincoln, Nebraska, and he was suspended for punching an umpire. In 1899, with the Detroit Wolverines, he helped them win an International League title. His younger brother, Taylor Schaefer, was also an MLB player, and so Schaefer was good at throwing out runners, actually at first base from right field. He must have played shallow. Some of these runners, I remember in Little League, some of the guys could do that if you were... so that's pretty good. Throwing out runners at first base from right field. Orator Schaefer, tremendous player. Pete Hotaling was a new outfielder. Hotaling hit .240, 17 doubles, 8 triples, and 41 RBIs. Really good. Hotaling was a center fielder from Mohawk, New York. He died in Cleveland in 1928 at age 71. His career average was .267, 590 runs, 371 RBIs. He was a star player. Played for the Cincinnati Reds, the Cleveland Blues, the Worcester Ruby Legs, the Boston Red Caps, Cleveland Blues again, Brooklyn Grays, and Cleveland Blues for a third time between 1879 and 1888. They called him Monkey. He's buried in Lakeview Cemetery in Cleveland, on the east side of Cleveland. He had an eye injury in a game, got hit by a ball in the eye, and weeks later he returned wearing a catcher's mask. He was the first player to wear a catcher's mask in MLB. And then they called him Monkey for the rest of his career when he was wearing this. I thought he looked like a monkey. Pete Hotaling. Ned Hamlin was also in the outfield. Hamlin hit .246, 10 doubles, 3 triples, and 32 RBIs. Hamlin was a center fielder manager for the Montville from Montville, Connecticut. He died in Baltimore, Maryland in 1937 at age 79. His career average was 260, 30 home runs, 517 RBIs, 329 stolen bases. He was a star player. Played for the Cleveland Blues, Detroit Wolverines, Pittsburgh Alleghenies, Pittsburgh Burgers, the Pittsburgh Pirates, Baltimore Orioles, and he also managed in 1880 and 1892 the Pittsburgh Alleghenies, Pittsburgh Burgers, Pittsburgh Pirates, and the Baltimore Orioles, the Brooklyn Superbuzz, and the Cincinnati Reds. He won a pennant in 1887. As manager, he won 5 pennants, 1894, 1895, 1896, 1899, and 1900. Hamlin was inducted to the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1996. They called him Foxy Ned. He's considered the father of modern baseball. He invented the hit-and-run play. His parents were immigrants from Ireland. His whole family worked in a cotton mill, and he joined them starting at age 13. So as a kid, he was working in a cotton mill, cotton factory, textile factory. The last 6 years, in his playing career, he averaged 55 stolen bases a year. In 1888 and 1889, he went with Albert Spalding and other players on a world tour promoting baseball to Hawaii, Australia, Sri Lanka, Arabia, Egypt, Europe, the British Isles, again, to promote baseball. As a manager, he won 3 titles with the Baltimore Orioles, and he managed John McGraw, Kid Gleason, and Wee Willie Keeler, who became famous themselves in their own right. As I say, Ned Hamlin invented inside baseball, the squeeze play, the sacrifice bunt, and the bunt steal. And they said, quote, he said this, quote, a run against a run gained by strategy counted as much as a run gained by slugging. And so he had Wee Willie Keeler was one of his players who became famous for the phrase, hit 'em where they ain't. He also started the platoon system. He managed Connie Mack, who became a famous manager himself. Ned Hamlin's son, Joseph, was killed in the First World War in France. So that was very tragic. Tremendous, amazing guy, Ned Hamlin. Bench players included Mike McGarry, who hit .252, 2 doubles, 1 triple, 6 RBIs in 31 games. McGarry was an infielder from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He died in Philadelphia in 1933 at age 82. McGarry hit .276 for his career, scored 484 runs, 236 RBIs. He played for the Troy, New York Haymakers, the Philadelphia Athletics, Philadelphia White Stockings, St. Louis Brown Stockings, Providence Grays, Cleveland Blues, and Detroit Wolverines between 1870 and 1882. He also was a manager of the Philadelphia White Stockings, the Providence Grays, and the Cleveland Blues as a player-manager. There were rumors that he threw games, but they were never proven. His parents were immigrants from Ireland. In 1871, he was the stolen base leader and league leader from 1871 to 1875. He had the fewest strikeouts. After his career as a baseball player, he worked as a clerk, laborer, and caulker. Mike McGarry. Barney Gilligan was back at 172, 4 doubles, 3 triples, a home run, 13 RBIs in 30 games. Al Hall was a new guy, hit 125, 1 hit and 8 at-bats in 3 games. Al Hall was an outfielder from Worcester, Massachusetts. He died in Warren, Pennsylvania. In 1885, his age was unknown, but he died young. So he died 5 years later, died young. His career average was .255, 0 home runs, 14 RBIs. He played for the Troy Trojans and the Cleveland Blues between 1879 and 1880, so this was the end of his brief MLB career. On May 13th in 1880, he was involved in a collision in the outfield with Pete Hotaling, and he got a broken leg as a result of that, which led to his retirement. He developed melancholy, depression, and insanity, and died in an asylum. Very tragic. Al Hall, God bless him. Harry Wheeler was another bench player. Hit .250. He had 1 hit and 4 at-bats in 1 game. Wheeler was an outfielder pitcher from Versailles, Indiana. He died in Cincinnati, Ohio, 1900 at age 42. Died young. His career average was .228, 2 home runs, 32 RBIs. He played for the Providence Grays, Cincinnati Reds, Cincinnati Stars, Cleveland Blues, Cincinnati Red Stockings, Columbus Buckeyes, St. Louis Browns, and Kansas City Cowboys, Chicago Browns, Pittsburgh Stogies, and Baltimore Monumentals from 1878 to 1884. He also managed the Kansas City Cowboys in 1882, and the American Association won a championship with the Cincinnati Red Stockings. He was a right fielder, and as a pitcher, he was 6-1 in his career with an ERA of 3.48. He died of syphilitic locomotor ataxia and is buried in Spring Grove Garden in Cincinnati. Harry Wheeler. Now our pitcher, again, was Jim McCormick, our star pitcher. As a batter, McCormick hit .246, 11 doubles, 26 RBIs, so he could hit. And as a pitcher, his pitching record, he won 45 games. Wow. Lost 28, had a tremendous ERA of 1.85. Made 74 starts, 72 complete games, and he had 7 shutouts. He pitched 657 innings, which led the National League. And he led the National League in wins with 45. He also struck out 260 batters. So a tremendous year for Jim McCormick. The other pitcher was Gid Gardner. As a batter, Gardner hit 188, 6 hits, 1 double, a triple, 4 RBIs, and 6 hits in 10 games. As a pitcher, his one-loss record was 1-8 with an ERA of 2.57, 9 starts, all complete games. Gardner was more of an outfielder, although he also pitched from Boston, Massachusetts. He died in Cambridge, Massachusetts in 1914 at age 55. His career average was .233 with 4 home runs and 113 runs scored. He played for the Troy Trojans, Cleveland Blues, Baltimore Orioles, Chicago Browns, Pittsburgh Stogies, Baltimore Monumentals, Baltimore Orioles, Indianapolis Hoosiers, Washington Nationals, and the Philadelphia Quakers between 1879 and 1888. As a pitcher, his career record was 2-12. After his playing career was over, it was reported that he had no steady employment. He worked for some time as a traveling salesman. He died of an aneurysm of the aorta. So the 1880 Cleveland Blues had a good year in Cleveland. They finished in 3rd place, above 500. God bless all those guys who played professional baseball in Cleveland and entertained the fans, Cleveland baseball fans, in 1880. And God bless everyone else associated with the team, including the fans, especially the Civil War veterans. Captains of the Cuyahoga, lovers of Lake Erie, Terminal Tower Power, fans of the Free Stamp statue, Tribe, Browns, and Cavs rule, Cleveland City of Champions. It's been 70 years since 1948. This is our year. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.